welcome back. We survived our 18-degree Halloween event. And you can see the bees are out buzzing around. But this is a good time for me to be talking about how do you winterize your bees. And you can see the cat's being a little fearless there. So I apologize if my angle's a little off, because I have what I'm looking at versus what the camera's looking at, it's two different things, and I do not get to see that. But let's go over to the beehive, get out of the flight path, start talking about how to winterize your bees. Okay. Rule number one, depending on the area, you need to find out how much honey that you need to have for the winter. Out of my neck of the woods, you're looking between 18 to 20 frames. This is their 10 frame configuration, which is not standard, because most people do not like messing with 10 frames. Some people will have a 10 box frame and size it up where you can get 9 frames in there to get a little more honey out of it. Okay, not that big of a deal to me. But I know for a fact this box is pretty much set. And we got a little wasp over here, so I have to be mindful of that. And the guard bees have already made it clear to the wasps, don't go in here. And one good way to tell how much food source they have is by doing what we call a heft test. You just grab it and lift. You can size up the weight. A box like this will weigh 100 pounds. If it's 200 pounds, I would not be able to pick it up with one hand. And you have to be mindful of when you go into the hive. The bees will still what they call propolis, which, let me get in close here. Try not to get stung. But you can see this little resin right here. That is propolis. That's what they use to seal the hive. And they line everything with it. Now, when I run in here, when I go inside the hive, I'm breaking that seal every single time. So I don't want to break that unnecessarily, because it is a weather seal. Think of it as the hive wants to be 94 degrees at all times. I go in here, break it up, now you have a drift. So then I have to work at getting that resealed. That's perfectly fine for a day like today's, because it's over 60 degrees. The next thing that's on the list is how to feed. Right now, you typically feed a 1-to-1 sugar to water ratio if you have new hives. And you see I have my Boardman feeders. Right now, I'm switching to a 2-to-1 ratio. Problem is I'm having a, let me step out, I'll get out of the flight path. The thickness of the sugar is so thick that it's actually real sticky. So that's the reason why you see the bees all over this community feeder, which is this mason jar that we poked some holes in the lid, drew some rocks into a bird bath, and it works. You can see how they're just going crazy over that. You can also see from the jar just how much sugar is in that water, and that's what they need right now. Now what's going on in the hive is they're switching from a summer brood to a winter brood, and the winter brood typically lives longer, and that's what's going to carry me to the spring. The next thing on the list is to beware of Verona mites. It's a parasite. It is very destructive, and you do need to do treatments. Now I have to figure out if I need to do a treatment, and one good way is to look at the body. And let me switch my camera here so it has the same angle I am at. And I'm not seeing any brown spots and those bees at all. So I may not need to do a varroa treatment for the winter. This depends. If you don't do a varroa treatment prior to now, you have a 70% chance of failure. Now, some people will actually not worry about doing treatments because they want to get the bees resilient through natural selection of the varroa mites, and that's perfectly fine. It just depends what you want to do. Now, when it gets below 50 degrees and you need to feed the cluster, there's a couple methods you can do. The one that I actually am leaning to is I take my 2-to-1 sugar water, put it inside of a Ziploc bag, put it inside my hive, slice a hole into it, or poke some holes into the bag, and just leave it there. You can actually use a Berman feeder like that, put a never box around the Berman feeder, and let them come up. Problem that you're running into is you need to know where the cluster's at. If the cluster's in the top box, not a problem. When I say top box, I mean the medium right here. If they're here, I can literally feed on top of the frames here because they'll come up. If they're down here, it does me no good. And if you have plenty of food, you don't need to feed at all. But I probably will do is this line my frames with some newspaper. Just put a sheet of newspaper on top. Take a 10-pound bag of sugar, dump that over the frames. The water, the moisture, which is my next big enemy, is going to get absorbed into that sugar. That sugar turns into a brick. The bees will come out and work on the brick. When I come in after the spring, whatever is left, I can convert into my sugar water. So that's just a very quick rundown of what I am doing during my winter. Oh yeah, and the other thing I have to be mindful of is if it gets too cold. You see some beekeepers will actually construct a wind block using a piece of plywood right behind the hive to block enough wind. Other people will take some insulation and wrap the hive. I've been told out in my neck of the woods that we don't need to worry about the wrap. You may need to have a wind block, but in my case, I'm not in a field. As you can see, I'm surrounded by houses, and this right here is my north facing. So direct north wind is getting blocked by my neighbor's house. And I would recommend, you see how I have my hive leaning? This is a slant gradient. That also allows the moisture to pull and run out, because water is going to run to the lowest point. So by me having this leaning, that moisture is actually making their jobs easier. Sorry, I'm just inspecting a joint. It's okay. So, quick informational video, not a long video. There's not a lot going on. Next up on the list is I'm waiting to this plant to get destroyed by the frost. These artichokes, these are Jerusalem artichokes. And the tubulars are edible, and you can see those one right here. This right here is edible. See, that's actually wanting to make more suits. So I'm in a bit of a conundrum right now going, what do I do with these? Do I allow these to continue growing, or do I actually pull them up and eat them? Depends. It's a root crop substitute. It's a potato. Think of it as a potato substitute. I'm really tempted to let those tubulars grow until it gets cold, which will be, you know, a week before Thanksgiving. Pull these entire plants up, harvest the tubulars, slice them up into thin slices, add my seasonings and my oil, stick them in my dehydrator, and turn them into potato chips. Like I said, it's a quick video, a bit more informative. Also, since I didn't touch on this, is if you're wanting to get into beekeeping, it's like we just got done doing your beekeeping class out here in Neoba, is find out when they do their beekeeping class, or if you don't want to commit to that, find out where beekeeping club, the organization, is meeting. Show up for a meeting. They don't mind if you show up just to test the waters. They have no problems with that. So like I said, it's very this is a quick informative because there's not a lot going on right now. But thanks for joining. I hope this has given you some information. And you see me doing more with the beehive when I do the feeding with the Ziploc bags, the brief inspections,